And we do begin with the death of America's pastor, the Reverend Billy Graham. Graham passed away this morning at the age of 99 at his home in North Carolina. News Channel 5's Rory Johnson takes a look back at his life, the time he spent in Nashville, and his influence as a spiritual advisor to presidents and people all over the world.
Our Father, we remember tonight.
He's preached to lay people and counseled presidents. But Billy Graham never wavered from spreading the word. He was born in North Carolina in 1918 and grew up on a dairy farm. By 15, he had given his life to Christ, and he was ordained at the age of 19. By the late 1940s and 1950s, the Southern Baptist minister became an international name, hosting crusades, revival-type events that lasted for weeks in cities all over the world. Billy Graham's first Nashville crusade was in 1954. He packed the football stadium at Vanderbilt University and did the same for his second revival in 1974. Oh, yeah! He returned to Nashville again in 2000 when he was 81 years old. He filled what was then Adelphia Coliseum for a 4-day crusade.
You're going to stand before God alone and give an account of what you did with Jesus and how you lived your life.
He was a staple on televisions and radios throughout the country and has written more than 30 books. Among Graham's most remarkable accomplishments, he's counseled every U.S. president from Harry Truman to Barack Obama. He sat down with News Channel 5's Chris Clark at his home in North Carolina in the late 1970s. Graham told the story of a lunch with Lyndon Johnson and his wife as the president was trying to decide on a vice president.
And then he turned to me and he said, "Billy, which one of those would you choose if you were choosing?" And I said, I started to say something to him, and Ruth kicked me under the table. He said, "Ruth, why did you kick him under the table?" And Ruth said, "Well, I think, Mr. President, that he ought to limit his advice to you on moral and spiritual matters and not politics. And I don't think, furthermore, you ought to ask him political questions." When the meal was over, Ruth and Mrs. Johnson went out into the other room. The president closed the door and he said, "All right, now tell me what you really think." And I said, "Well, Mr. President, I'll have to be loyal to Hubert Humphrey." I said, "He and I have been friends for years." And I said, "I think he'd make you a good vice president."
In 1992, Graham was diagnosed with a disease similar to Parkinson's. His son Franklin took over the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association after Billy's retirement in 2005. And today, Franklin continues his father's legacy, a legacy that will never die.
Thank you, Rory. And we will have much more on the life of Billy Graham later today at 4, 5, and 6. In news here in the Nashville area, fire crews are still on the scene right now of a blaze at the Abel's Restaurant and Equipment Store on Nolensville Road. 2 people and a dog escaped, and they're going to be okay. The owner, who lives above the business, says he woke up to alarms going off. He went downstairs to find the business full of smoke. Firefighters are trying to put out the hot spots right now before they can investigate. Also happening now, a killer is still on the run after gunning down an out-of-town visitor in East Nashville. Shamar Lewis reportedly went to the Cobblestone Corners apartments on Ben Allen Road to meet with some people. He was shot around 8 o'clock last night and died several hours later at the hospital. The suspects drove off in a dark SUV. If you know who did this or you saw what happened, call Crime Stoppers at 615-74-CRIME. And we've talked a lot lately about that scary trend in carjackings called bump and runs. You get out of your car to check for damage and someone jumps in and takes your car. And now, with the help of the FBI, police have arrested 3 people for doing just that to a driver in Gallatin on Monday. 2 adults and a 16-year-old were jailed, facing a number of charges.